pay them before the election, unlike in Ekiti, where you have to show that you have voted for us before you can be paid. Okay. But in this case, they went from unit. And the problem we have is that the police, most times, they will arrest. Once the elections are over, you find a lot of big men coming in. You find a lot of people speaking on behalf of those arrested, and they're never taken to court.
Let me just quickly dip this in, because I understand that our viewers watching us live now on DSTV have not been on the show, but thankfully they're back. I want to welcome everyone who's watching us on DSTV platform, and of course everyone else from around the world. You're watching the Osun live studios and Channels Television here, coming to you live from Lagos. But I have my guest still with me here in the persons of Dr. Dele Ashiru to my extreme right, and also who is, of course, from the University of Lagos, the prestigious university, and, of course, also Mr. Dele Olalaye, who is a lawyer, indeed. Now, we're at such a point where it will seem to suggest to a lot of people that INEC is getting the thumbs up with its innovations, especially when you're getting to the point where you have to put in your fingers and cast your vote, do the printing on the ballot paper, and then cast your vote inside there. This new technology, or should I say new innovation that INEC has introduced, where mobile phones are not allowed in there, on a scale of 1 to 10, how successful do you think this has been?
Well, from the reports that we've gotten so far, it appears successful. But I have a different opinion about it's infringing on people's fundamental human rights. Just because I want to cast my vote, and then you deprive me of my communication gadgets.
It was just for that moment.
Yeah, but for what reason, specifically? It's all part of this over-militarization of our electoral process. If there's a problem with getting your mobile phone to the polling unit, INEC should think creatively about solving the problem, rather than asking me to drop my phone and you can get reports.
In your view, what's the alternative?
Well, I'm still not very clear as to the reason why people cannot go into the polling booth with their phones. I don't know the reason.
Well, they gave the reason. They say that in the past experience and reports that have reached them as INEC, is that people, in order to discourage vote buying, and people go in there with their phones, and then after they've thumb printed, they take a picture of it and they can take it to whoever is the money bag, the politicians, and then show it to them and then get paid for that. So it's an exchange of the pictures against the votes and the money that's tied up in all of this. That's the reason why INEC is using this to try to discourage that.
Well,
is that not? Wouldn't you see that as successful? I'm surprised, because he seems to have a contrary view to yours.
Well, well, everybody should be entitled to his opinion.
Let's hear his.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that it's a development from the previous experiences we have had. And from my own perception, there is no infringement of any right for that moment, for the purpose of that exercise. If you go into a courtroom, you are not expected to use your phone, okay? And if you are in a church, you don't use your phone either. If you are in a mosque, you can't make calls.
But those are not restrictions.
Yes, we understand that. But the fact remains that for the purpose of casting your vote, it's supposed to be a secret ballot, and no other person is supposed to know about it. So you are not even supposed to even take pictures of your ballot or transmit or transfer that information to someone else. So to that extent that you are only, excuse me,
okay,
please just let me finish.
Okay.
To that extent that you are only, you put your phone down, cast your vote, and once you are through, you pick your phone and go. You have performed your civic duty. I don't see any violation of rights there.
Okay, we're going to have a more extensive discussion on this, but you're watching Osun State 2018 governorship elections, coming to you live from our Lagos studios, and of course, our correspondents are also reporting from across Osun State. We'll be back after these messages. Join us again. Welcome back. You're watching events and happenings from Osun State and its governorship elections holding today, and we're still expecting the collation of results will have advanced to this point. And at some point, our correspondents in Osun State, in Osogbo to be precise, Seun Okibaloye, Chris Elems, and Lanre Lasisi will give us more information on the events as they unfold. But I still have with me here in the studio Mr. Deji Olaleye. He's a lawyer, and indeed Dr. Dele Ashiru, a lecturer, Political Science, University of Lagos. Gentlemen, we were at that contentious position where the legality of the of using your phones or non-usage of your phones at the polling point, it's generating so much debate. But he says that we have to make this, we must democratize this, and by extension would mean having that as an addition to the amendment of the electoral laws. Would that be right?
Well, that may be so. I will agree on that if there is a rule stated in the Electoral Act on it. Unfortunately, if you look at the situation in the country now, there is no electoral basis even for what we are doing in Osun. The amendment to the Electoral Act is still not completed. The process is not completed. Okay? Maybe that will have assisted us to be able to get somewhere with this contentious issue. But having looked at it, in my own perception, it's not that the voters are being deprived of their phone or communication link, or, of course, if you have a call, you can take your call, okay? You can have your phone, but once you are going into the cubicle, okay, the phone is taken away from you for the purpose of that secret balloting. So, to that extent, I think if you have an election, there should be rules guiding those elections. And for those who want to participate in that process, they should at least comply with the rule that as stated. We are in a unique situation in Nigeria now because of the sophistication of our politicians in electoral malpractices. Okay? Even though the exigency of the moment is such that you just have to develop a novel way of tackling the issue at stake. It may be an emergency response to the problem, but I think it is better we have a solution right in our hands than for us to just leave it hanging.
Let's go to Abuja now, where Oluwole Osaze-Ozi, the Director of Voter Education and Publicity of INEC, now joins me. Thank you so much indeed for joining us on the show at this time. You've been listening to my guest here in Lagos, and it seems to be a bone of contention on whether or not INEC should continue with this non-usage of phones at the polling points. How successful has this been, though, for you, judging from what you have recorded in Osun?
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Good evening. I think it's been quite successful. Your reports, all they have shown that. The reports of the monitors we have on ground have shown that. The reports from the other media agencies on ground has actually shown that. And let me quickly point out this. I think a legal practitioner there, as well, he's been hedgy and fair enough. But I think the political scientist, I'm not too sure, is very familiar with the provisions of the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act provisions are quite clear on this. Section 1224 of the Electoral Act 2010, as amended, deals with inducement for voters. But 125 is very interesting, and many commentators have not actually looked at it.